Always. Is there an always here?
Share my screen. Okay, so Happy New Year, everyone. These are the technical updates that came through for the end of last year, so December 2024. So there's quite a few of them, actually, believe it or not. So this first one is being able, if you take sort of like client-side encrypted documents out of Google Vault, if you do a data export, basically, then it allows you, this is available in beta, but you have to request the beta. This is not an open beta. So you'll get the link so that you can use the form to request the beta, so that you can take your encrypted documents out of the vault and convert them into a Microsoft format. Why you'd want to do that, I do not know, but that's just additional functionality. This next one is a useful one. So this is when you have any APIs that are accessing the data in your Google admin console, be that Google Drive, Google Gmail, Google Sign-In, whatever it is, you as an admin can now restrict the scope of what the API can access. So it's really useful for sort of like narrowing down what access those apps can have. So if you have a Plus account or a standard account, you can look at your API access as to which apps are actually pulling data from, for example, Google Drive or Google Identity and things like that. And if you're not happy with the access that they're having, you can now restrict it. This one is if you use calendar resources, so things like specific rooms or any sort of like location information in a calendar, you can actually assign those calendar resources to actual OU units. So basically, again, restrict down who can access which resources across your school or college. This one, we speak about Gemini quite a lot. This is something that probably not a lot of you are aware of, is that Gemini is has got the world's first international standard for artificial intelligence management systems. So it basically says that it's been developed, deployed, maintained responsibly with appropriate ethical consideration, data governance, and transparency. So it's the world's first. So none of the other ChatGPT or any of the other AIs out there do not have that certification as yet. This next one is Gemini again. It's the learning tools interoperability. You can see that I'm not going to read the bullet points, but this is what it can do. It works with Canvas. And again, you will have to, as an admin, you will have to enable the Workspace LTI service in the admin console and the Gemini service in the admin console as well, if you haven't already. Anyone that's using Classroom API, this is a new one that allows you to create and manage rubrics using the API. So you can actually sort of like have closer as an admin, you can have better sort of like management of what those rubrics are when it comes to specifically assignments and things like that within Google Classroom. This one is a good one, and it's available in open beta. So that means you don't have to sign up for it. It's basically there already. It allows you as an administrator to lock groups. So you can basically restrict what can happen within that group, which means that, and it's specifically stating if you're syncing groups from an external source, for example, and you don't want to get out of sync or you don't want any changes, say you've got a sensitive group, you can make the group, put your settings in the group to what you would want, and then lock it so that no other changes can happen to it unless you as an admin decide you can. Paul spoke about this yesterday, adding the folder support to the side of the panel. So now you've got the side panel for Gemini, so that you can go within Google Drive and give yourself a Gemini summary of, say, a folder or a document or something like that. And again, here, if you want to enable that, you need to turn on that personalization setting for specific users within your admin console. Who's making all the noise in the background?
Probably me, sorry.
Yeah.
Mr. Farrell, he's not, he's our, expert on the teaching and learning side of things, but he hasn't mastered the mute button. Oh, no, he's done it now. He's good.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Well done, Paul. Well done. Training always available if you need it.
So, I mean, they're always adding new functionality into Google Chat. As Paul mentioned the other day, we use chat massively, different groups of people. But now, because they've added so much functionality into Google Chat, they've now sort of like caught up with it, so to speak. So when it comes into your apps reports within chat, you've now got more usage information so that you as an administrator can actually see how your users are actually using chat, so that you can sort of like get a better oversight as to who's using it, how many people are using it, who's responding to it, things like that. Just an advanced reporting feature on chat, basically. Another open beta, so you don't have to sign up for it. This is similar to it. It's in addition to SAML. So they now have OpenID Connect. So if you're using any sort of like cloud access services and things like that, it now allows you to add, sort of for a third-party single sign-ons, it allows you to add that OpenID Connect profile into your domain. Another open beta. This is one, again, it's an addition to Google Chat, is if you have, for example, messages within Microsoft Teams, and you want to move them or migrate them into spaces in Google Chat, you can easily do that. It's done via I believe it's done via a CSV download and upload, but you can actually migrate those chats across into your Google Chat spaces. Google account recovery. So obviously with Google account recovery, it'll tell you there it's on by default for most users, but for secondary school pupils, adding the ability to add their email and their phone recovery information is off. It now gives you the opportunity to change that. And of course, why would you not want someone to be able to recover their account? Super admins obviously is always enabled, but at the minute it's on for most of your users, but it's off for your students. You can now turn it on. Again, more monitoring. So this is if you've got anyone within your domain using app sheets. You now have the ability to actually monitor that and see exactly what they're doing. So review it, see what apps they're using, verify the licenses, and also export a list of accounts and users and apps and licenses as well. And that's me finished. Unless I've missed anything, Paul, that you want to add to that?
No, I think we're good with that. I've got a couple of questions though.
Yeah.
A comment first. Those of you who were here yesterday might remember I talked about the fact that you can now add if you put someone's name in who's not in a space in a message. So, you know, James says, Paul, who's the person that does such and such? And I say, oh, it's this person. And I add another person's name. And it appears as a little smart chip. And then you've got the option to add that person in, or just to send the message and leave James to click on that person and message them directly. So I'm just thinking, with that locking groups option, that would mean that if someone did that and tried to add them into a sensitive group, then it wouldn't allow them to do it, of course.
That's correct.
Because the group is locked. So a good piece of functionality to share information about people that someone needs to communicate with, but an additional useful tool to lock it in case you don't want them to be accidentally added to that group, which is quite, you know, if it's a senior leadership group, for example, and you say, oh, you need to ask so-and-so in the office, you know, and all of a sudden someone in the office is in the senior leadership group that you wouldn't necessarily want in there. So it's just, and you haven't got the embarrassment of removing people. So that's really...
Yeah, it's also sort of like, you know, if you set the group up as an admin properly, I mean, I've seen this in several schools where they've set their groups up and then the group spirals out of control and they've lost control over who's in the group, who's not in the group, this, that, and the other. So if you set it up as an admin and say, like your example, Paul, senior leadership team, and you don't want anyone else being added into that group, lock the group and then nobody will be able to make any changes to it.
Yeah, no, exactly that. So that all right, I think is a really good additional thing. I was going to ask a question about, are people using rubrics? Because if they're using rubrics extensively, the facility for centrally to create a series of rubrics, and then would that presume that would then make them available for everyone? That could be a really useful tool. Was my thought about that. And then no worries, Andy. See you later. And the other thing is about a question about the chat reports, whether you can actually do a chat report by an individual chat space. Just thinking, not necessarily for schools, but certainly for us to know what, because we've got chats where we support our schools and colleges through a chat as well as other support methods. And for us to know what kind of traffic there's been in that chat space might be a useful piece of information for us to know. You know, we've had all these conversations this year with you, as well as all this support that we've offered.
I haven't looked at that poll yet, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that might be worth having a little look at it, wouldn't it? But those were my only thoughts. Any questions from anyone? Theo, Nick, Melissa, or any thoughts and comments about anything that you like?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on turning on the account recovery. I don't know if anyone has, but I don't think I would, because I think it's a security risk. If I quite prefer to have it off, because if someone's account has been compromised or ever compromises, I just feel that it's just another way for disaster, really. I think we prefer people coming to us to have their accounts recovered. I mean, the way we set up, you know, we do through Microsoft and then Google anyway. So, you know, people can't do forgot password. But I guess, you know, every environment is different, but I just feel that's a bit risky for me to turn it on to allow people to recover their accounts. You essentially I feel like you lose control of that account the minute you do that, because people can just go and do whatever they want.
I think that's probably why the default for students is that it's off, but it's on for any other user. So I think you're absolutely right, though. It's sort of like that is a judgment call. It's sort of like, do you want sort of like your staff, for example, if they've forgotten their password, or to be able to add in, say, their personal mobile phone number in order to actually recover their account. Some institutions may want to do that. No, I mean, you could do it on an OU basis. So, like I say, it's off for students, but it will be on for staff as default if they want to do that.
And it's interesting that you put in that mobile number, because text message codes are being phased out, MFA based, you know, text message codes, that they're being turned off. Microsoft, for example, doesn't allow it for VPN. If you want to do VPN over MFA with text, it won't work. Yeah. So yeah, I guess I'll say I guess it depends on every environment will always be different, but I think
It's on a case by case basis, Theo.
yeah.
Yeah. So, for example, I mean, when it comes to MFA, Googlers aren't allowed to use their phone for MFA. They're not even allowed to use the Google Authenticator app for their phone, even though it's a Google app. It's not, because if the phone became compromised, the app will become compromised then, wouldn't it? So the only MFA that Googlers in Google HQ in London are allowed to use is a FIDO key, an encrypted FIDO key. It's the only way they're allowed to MFA, and they all have to MFA for obvious reasons.
Mm. Yeah, and also passkeys as well. They're becoming quite popular now. So
yeah, indeed.
Okay, that's what I just wanted to mention there.
Yeah, that's okay.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Theo. Any other thoughts from anyone? Oh.
I mean, I think that limiting the API access seems worth us at least exploring. Are we happy with that? I suppose the only danger is that we've probably got an awful lot of services, at least that staff have signed up for, with the kind of the log on here with Google sort of button, and I suppose the danger is if we've got hundreds of those and I start switching things off because I'm not happy with them, those applications might stop working and lessons might be disrupted. So it could be a Pandora's box, but it's interesting. It's something that I'm going to look into and get a feel for whether I think we're sharing too much data or not, I guess.
Yeah, I think you're right, Nick. I think you need to be careful when you're looking at the scopes of the API. Into that, if you start switching things off, you'll start breaking things, and things won't work anymore. But I would be looking at the APIs that are currently active and see exactly what they're looking at. And if it's just sort of like a sign in with Google thing, and it's asking for the contact details, ask yourself why. Why do they need to have access to all of the person's contact details?
I mean, I think it potentially is a good way of me kind of retroactively blocking people using online platforms that I haven't authorized in terms of like DPIAs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We're notoriously bad for that. Staff will just sign up for stuff, upload details, or allow students to click the button to share all of their data from Google with this application without having gone through the proper checks first. So I suppose it gives us the ability to say, actually, we're not happy with that, but if it breaks the application, then should have gone through the DPIA.
Yeah, correct.
I guess it gives you some.
Is there a report that you can run that shows all the APIs that are in?
Yeah, if you've got plus and standard, that's in the dashboard, the security dashboard.
Right.
That'll show you all of your APIs, and it'll also show you specifically which parts of the Google workspace domain those APIs are pinging. So you can run a report on that and then cross-reference it, and then know that once you found out which APIs are pinging which parts of the Google console, you can then go in and limit the scope of the API so that it doesn't access information that it shouldn't be accessing. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Just giving you jobs to do. Like, you haven't got enough to do, Nick. And there's another thing for you to do now.
Well, the one thing I was definitely going to go and do is find out when our DocuSign subscription is up for renewal, because we are paying for that. And actually, if we're only using basic features like signing and dating, we could probably get rid of that.
Yeah.
If Google now supports it sort of natively, that's a real plus, I think.
Up to 20 people.
I was going to say DocuSign.
20 separate signatories. You can't specify the order. So if you need one person to sign before another, there's no way to control that currently. I don't know if you can in DocuSign.
Sorry, you mean up to 20 people signing the same
separate
document?
Signatories, yeah, within a document.
Okay.
On the same document. I'm not sure why you
I'll
need
have to look
20.
at
We're not
No.
the UN, are we? So, but yes, and up to, I think it's either, I couldn't remember the number. It's either 200 or 300 separate fields in total. Yeah, just kind of oddly large numbers. I don't quite know why you need that many, but I suppose you could have a form as a fields to make a Google Doc into a form, couldn't you? In effect, potentially.
Yeah, and actually, I mean, look, that fits some people's use of technology, doesn't it? They've never quite got past this kind of substitution approach where they're just saying, well, we used to fill a form in on paper, on A4 paper with boxes in it, and now we just want to sort of move that over. I mean, Word has done it natively for forever, and obviously Acrobat does it as well. And yeah, I can see the value in that. I mean, we only really use it, I think, for staff contracts, although we seem to get through quite a lot of those. Haven't done it for parents yet. I still think they're doing it manually, but it gives us the option for free, I assume, if we're already paying for Education Plus.
Yeah. You do, Nick. DocuSign is the one that I used to pay for as well.
You could even use it, Nick. You could even use it for like if you have an IT acceptable use policy that students have to sign, and some schools I know have an AUP, acceptable use policy, that they have parents sign as well, saying, schools send out, we are going to be aware we're going to be providing your child with this access. They need to sign the acceptable use policy, and you need to agree that these are the services that we are digital services that we are providing your child. So you can use it for that as well, so that you have a digital signature saying, well, you signed for it on this day.
Yeah.
So there's
We do. Yeah, well, I was going to say we do that somehow. I can't remember how we do it with students. With staff, the thing that strikes me is the keeping children safe in education, that they have to sign that they've read every year, and I think we are shoehorning that into a training platform, so it comes down as a training course. But the only question is, click here to read the document. Have you read the document? Yes, and you're kind of signing it that way. But actually, this might be a far better way of doing it. But obviously, we'd need to get a report on it. So I think I need to explore it a bit further. How do we take one document, instantiate it 450 times, and then generate a report with dates to say these people have signed it at these times? So yeah, that might need some exploring. But I mean, there's a lot of potential here, isn't there? If this feature's been introduced now, in the coming months, it's only going to improve.
Yeah, just another job for you, Nick.
I like jobs. My life is filled with screens with action points on them that I never actually get around to doing. At least it looks like I'm busy,
Yeah.
Getting paid for.
Right, I'll stop the recording now.